Hi everybody, this is Sarah, Pearls of Wisdom and Food with Keto. Today my keto is going to be under 5 total. This is Basics, Part 2. For those of you just needing reminders about how I began to do my keto, like you need to remind yourself how I began to do my keto and what I still do today, and how it just becomes ingrained. Isn't that a funny term, ingrained? Got that back again. Ingrained, like we don't have any grains. So what is it? In protein? In fats? No, it's ingrained in us, our way of doing things. And you know, as I find here so often with people that I work with, people that comment, and just the general population, like what you hear in other videos and such, a lot of this is habitual. And a lot of this is just behaviors that we've just transported, transformed, transferred to, darn fruit fly, I got it. Look, I got it. Yay! Now what do I do with it? In the Bohemian Rhapsody, he talked about a dirty little fruit fly. Yeah, I'm familiar with them. I guess the services will be held at a later date. So anyway, where was I before that killing? So a lot of the stuff that we do is just bad habits, bad behaviors. We don't even know our bad habits and bad behaviors, like standing when eating, like eating off of another person's plate, like tasting and sampling things when we're preparing our food. Some people could get a whole day's worth of food or fat just in taking care of those things. And so we don't even know they're bad. We don't even know that we have them, right? It's just those funny little quirks until we realize that, like, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to do this anymore. So in the Basics Part 2 are things that will help you in the long run, okay? What do I mean by long run? If you're able to handle a bad habit or bad behavior or even, you know, a naughty food now as you're beginning, or you're reinventing your own wheel because it's like what you were doing before might not have worked through the four months of any food you want, because starting in January, you're going to do this and that. Well, it's February. Oh no, it's March. It's March. So like, hello. So anyway, some of the things that worked for me is not, I can always tell when it's a text, is not tasting, is not nibbling. Somebody else's plate is none of my business. All of the eating when standing. And so what did I transfer these things to? Well, the non-nibbling part, that, and the no snacking part, which is like intentional nibbling, whereas the nibbling, if you're tracking me here, the nibbling could be, I never even realized I did that. Right. You could be doing that with celery, or you could be doing it with a carb. And say you're prepping food for somebody that doesn't do keto, and you're into their neighborhood of foods, and although none of it is your concern, you do prepare it for that person. And so kids, significant other, whatever. And so suddenly there you are sampling. Do you know what that can do to your brain? Do you know how easy it is? I mean, when Dr. William Davis, the wheat belly man, talks about one gram, you know, could set up a future binge, you know, you kind of like roll your eyes a little bit, but hello, a little taste of what you're not supposed to have can do that, especially if it's sugar, as they say in other countries. Sugar could do it to you. And so you don't want to light up your brain and start thinking that this is okay. And then you start getting weebly and wonky. In fact, some people, they probably track what they're not supposed to have, thinking that that's going to keep them, you know, pure. At least I tracked and weighed it. Well, okay. I guess it's a better bad choice or step or behavior. But giving up the nibbling and the snacks are huge. Every time you have a snack, your body doesn't know if it's a spread like Thanksgiving dinner or just a tiny little plate of a something, like, you know, some cucumber slices and like an ounce or two of cheese, your body doesn't know the difference. Your body just kicks in, fat burning stops, stalling begins, and your body prepares to deal with the digesting of these foods. And so you're going to throw yourself off. So every time you call on your body to kick in that insulin and the blood sugar hike, it's not in your best interest. And so if you're new or coming back and you need to remember, what was it that worked before? It's simple little things like no nibbling and no snacks and eating when sitting down. I dine. I have a cloth napkin, a little fork, a little knife, usually little plates, and that's how I do it. Is it weird? Is it queer? Is it like laughable? Well, sure, as I say it is, but what's kept me? I learned the little plate and sitting down and little utensils way back with Overeaters Anonymous in 1975. That's 44 years worth of doing this, and it suits me well. Is it necessary for you? No, but this is what I do in my little world of food. Food is wicked important to me. I love my food, and so and I look forward to my OMAD every single day. But I'm not like going nuts like I used to about food all the time. I just know that I prep it. I look forward to it. I'm not nibbling it as I'm prepping it for my day. And it just becomes, it's orderly, it's sane for me. That's one of the things. So another back to basics, if I can spare you this, stop the freaking scale jumping. That's me praying for you. Please. The scale is not the be all end all. It's not going to tell you if you're worth it. It's not going to tell you if you've really lost weight. For some people, it's measuring their waist. That's how they do it. For other people, it's their genes. For people like me, I was doing it once a week. I was even recording it and telling you people here. Now I'm down to once a month. So it's the first Thursday of the month. I hop on the scale. It is what it is. I record it. I put it in my chronometer, so I carry it every day because, that day I weighed myself. My next weigh-in is March 7th. That's a Thursday, a couple days from now. And that's how I do it. And it is not going to be the last word about Sarah's worth as a person. Oh, the shame of it all. I gained. Oh, so what, right? Did you have, if you weigh yourself once a month, it's like, did you have 30 incredible days of wonderful, identifiable food? Was it worth it? Did you not lose as much as you expected? Did you gain a couple? I gained after I doubled my protein amount. After going from like 35 to 40 to up to 80. I gained a little, but to me, it's like my body recomposing. It's like, oh, thank you, Sarah. You've included more protein. You got the memo, or you heard the memo. You listened to the memo. Oh, duh. I'm a slow learner. It took me a long time. I wouldn't trade any of my 68 years and what I've learned in the last few years since going low carb, high fat to keto. I wouldn't trade any of that for all those years of just complete abandonment, because there was always going to be time, right? I always had time to lose weight. I just chose not to do it as I kept buying bigger sizes, wishing that like I was skinny so a guy would like me more. Forget being naked or on the beach. I mean, those things are like, ah. So the scale, it's not your friend. It's only going to be your friend if you get that big whoosh, because, I watch people that like are absent from their YouTube channel for days, weeks, months, even years. And so then they go back on the program they were on. One of these people is a Weight Watcher. Another one is a sometimes keto, sometimes Weight Watchers, sometimes blah, 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 blah. And they get on the scale the first time back, and one of them had an 11-pound loss that first week. Well, she doesn't say how much she weighs, but you know, it was a terrific gain. You can see it in her face. And so, and so that's not the point. That big whoosh isn't the point. If you've been doing standard American diet and you begin to do keto under 20, okay, you make that transition and your first whoosh is like 8 pounds. Well, sure, it's great, but it's probably, your cells releasing the water because it says, that one cell nudges the other and says, hey, I think this person's not going to have any more grains or sugars. I think this person's not having any more, abundance, how euphemistic is that, of the carbs. I don't think this person's having 4 Cokes every day anymore. I guess maybe we can release all this water in all these cells. That's what it is. It's not true pounds of fat. That stuff takes a while. And if you've decided to do this as a lifestyle, you're doing it as a lifestyle. That's one of those basics, and this is being the basics 2 video. That's one of the things that, like, you don't have to wait till you're 7 months into this with some cheats and slippage and all this stuff and cravings and giving into them. You don't have to do all of that, okay? If you're just beginning or coming back and this time it's going to work, and you say it's a lifestyle. It's a freaking lifestyle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, my chronometer, and I'm going to put my food in. I'm going to weigh and measure it. Maybe not forever, but for the first month or so as I get my sea legs back on what portions look like. That portion distortion thing that we often have. I saw a non-keto, non-dieting person's idea of food, and I said, and how many does this serve at the table? Portion distortion can get very, very wacky, and it happens layer after layer after layer. That one spoonful doubles and then triples, and suddenly you've got 4 spoonfuls of that, and that 4 ounces of that turns into 6, turns into 8, turns into 12, and suddenly, you've got a platter and not a smaller plate or a bowl. So tell yourself this is a lifestyle. And being clean and abstinent also build one day at a time, right? You're not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs weighing yourself. You're not slipping up. You're not cheating, tasting, making promises, buying all those supplements, having one of those shakes where the canister like this has ingredients like this on the label, and it's got all these artificial sweeteners in it, and it's got all this CRAP in it. You don't need all of that. If your grandmother wouldn't recognize what you're eating, then you probably shouldn't be eating it. And if it's filled with chemicals and has an ingredient label on the back of the package, forget about it. Most of the things I buy don't come with ingredients listed. They don't need to. When I'm having a filet steak, it's beef. When I'm having heavy whipping cream, it's heavy whipping cream. It's not, and this and that and carrageenan or genin and all the other CRAP. When I have a mineral water, it is minerals on the back. How many parts per million or whatever it goes by. It's a mineral water, not an artificially sweetened and flavored soda water. Small little changes can make a big difference. Your palate's going to change. Give it a chance. If you've been eating the standard American diet for umpty-ump years, and they're 2 digits, and the first one begins with 5 or 6, your palate's going to change. It's just going to change. You're going to get used to it. Like for me, to get used to like a meat that's cooked on the grill, and it's just this plain piece of meat, I can get very used to that. Sometimes I add a little butter. I use the salts that I use and the pepper, and that's it. I don't need it seasoned, marinated, dripping in artificial flavors to get a sense of like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to taste. I don't do that anymore. Plain and simple. My condiments are salt, not table salt, anything but those fancy salts that I use, mostly, the ancient ones, and pepper, cracked pepper, and butter. What do I use for butter? I use the Amish, I use the Kerrygold, I use the Vital Farms. I use those sort of things for butters, and then macadamia nut oil and avocado oil. No, macadamia nut oil. Oh, and ghee. Sorry, brain cramp. I was taking you back to my basics. So over the years, I've actually given up the EVU, extra virgin olive oil, and the coconut oil. I use them for cooking, but I'm not using them like as heavy duty salad makers and finisher offers and things like that. So it's kind of strange. That's changed. But my basics are, I want a satiating meal that's going to make me content, keep me sane, let me push away from the table knowing I've had enough. I still do my dental care after I've eaten. I use the water pick, I use floss, I use the electric toothbrush. I use those sort of things after I've eaten, and it says to me, girlie, you're done. You're done. That's it. That's all you're going to get. But I've been doing this long enough, and you can pray to do this long enough that it becomes the only thing you've ever known. In fact, going back and trying to figure out what was it that I ate when I first started doing, low carb, high fat, or keto under 20. I've got to remember, because I've gotten now to my OMAD, which is such a wonderful thing. I have 3 cups of coffee. They're organic. And I have heavy whipping cream, 1 tablespoon per cup. I have those 3 things, those 3 cups during the day. I get up, if I'm working, I get up at 10:30 at night to go to work. And if I'm not working, I get up around 4:30 in the morning. And I have those 3 cups, like from 4:30 to the next one's at 9, and then the next one's after I've exercised. It's like the little reward. You get your cup of coffee again, girlie. And these things work for me. Did I have heavy whipping cream and or a fat in my coffee when I began? Back to the basics, part 2. Yes, I did. It helped me segue from having 2 or 3 meals a day with snacks and nighttime eating and all that kind of stuff. The fats satiate me and get me from this time slot to that time slot to that time slot. They did in the beginning as the basics, and they still do today. Just a whole lot of less fats, just 1 tablespoon of the heavy cream. And I'm good. It satiates. It carries me. Part of it is up here. Part of it is in my belly. The feeling, okay, the meal is coming. I look forward to my OMAD. I'm not jonesing. I'm not triggered. I don't, you can't have sugar. I'm sorry. But it's just, it really can mess up here in your brain. And some specialists and nutritionists will say that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Okay? So I never did cocaine. I just did enough wine to sink a cruise ship. But so, you can do this with your basics and decide what your basics are. Comment down here. You know how many people get benefits from reading after, like, I do a basics video and people begin to comment, and it makes them go back and think too, wow, is it time to tweak and maybe go back to my basics? Don't you do that with exercise after you've given it up? Don't you ease back into it? I did after my Baker's cyst. I recently began to exercise again. Little weights, resistant bands, Leslie Sansone tapes, or, on YouTube. And it's helping me. My rewards for exercising again, instant. My balance is better. My agility is better. My energy, I have pretty high energy anyway, but it lasts me longer. I don't fade at the end of the day. I used to almost fall asleep on the couch after eating, settling in for the night with a little TV. And now that doesn't happen that much anymore. It still happens on occasion, but adding back in the exercise makes me feel good. Can you exercise your weight off? I don't think so. Like Elwood says, he thinks it's 100% food. So do a few other people, like Tracy. Florida Tracy. She thinks it's 100% food. I agree. It's just nice to move my body. The cricks and the aches and the stiffness and stuff like that, that happens as you age. But I'm not like hobbled over in pain. I feel young again. It helps. So thank you so much for watching. This is Keto Back to Basics Part 2, more about the behaviors than about the foods. And you've got this, sister and brother. You do. I know you do. You can do this. This program is such a lifesaver for older people who thought they'd never, ever, ever get their eating and their food and their meds and their chronic standard American diet diseases under some sane level again. And it does work for us. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.